I'm sick of checking to see if I'm in frame. This is just going to have to do. Hopefully I'm in frame. I've sat down, recorded, and gotten up and checked the footage several times now, and it's always just a little bit off, but fingers crossed I'm in frame this time. Anyhow, it's Saturday, which means it's the final training session of the week. Arms. And what is it? 3 p.m. So a bit of a later session today. Not late by some people's standards, but by my standards it's late. Although I have boxed off my cardio for the day already. I've boxed off all of my daily steps, not just some of them, all of them, by 3 p.m, which is awesome. It means I can sit on my ass the rest of the day if I want to when I get home, but I'm not going to do that. I can't stand sitting down. I don't know about you guys, but I get real fidgety, and it's probably my ADHD, but I can't sit still for long. I just can't do it. But I've hit my quota for the day in terms of steps, so it means that I'm not obligated under any circumstances to get any more in, but I'll still clock up probably another 3,000 steps by the end of the day, given it's 3 p.m. currently. And yeah, I'll be walking around periodically until at least 11 p.m. So what's that? 8 hours? Yeah. Is that right? No. Yeah. 8 hours, yeah. Had to think about that for a second. But I'm feeling pretty flat and tired. So, I mean, in saying that, even though I don't like to sit still for any prolonged period of time and I get quite irritable, even if I'm tired, I'm still that way. But yeah, today I'm feeling quite tired. It's just like mental burnout, I guess, from the week. That's probably the best way to put it. It just feels like mental fatigue. Physically, I feel fine, but mentally, I'm just like, oh god, it's the weekend. It's like my brain knows it's the weekend, so it kind of goes on standby mode. But it's going to be a busy weekend. I'm actually excited for tomorrow. One of my clients is competing in her second show of the season. It's her first time competing, like her first prep, and it's the second show in a string of 3 shows that she's doing. So she did one last weekend. That got her feet wet in the sport. This weekend she's doing another one. She's made some massive improvements since the last weekend, which is going to be really crazy, really exciting to see. And speaking of that, I actually need to check. She should have sent me some photos, because I'm getting her to send me photos, a set of photos after each meal today. And we're just fine-tuning, tweaking things if we need to. But I've got like a base kind of diet for the day sorted and set, but we might, say, make adjustments here and there depending on how she's looking, how the physique's coming along after each meal. But I'll actually have to, you know what, I might actually just check that now. This can wait. So I'll just crop this out so you're not watching me just kind of like reply on my phone. Alright, I'm back. So yeah, I'm excited for her to do her second show tomorrow. So that's on, and then there's one final show that she has in 2 weeks' time. So she's made some pretty significant improvements just by digging for half a week. So it's going to be exciting to see what she can do with the whole 1.5 weeks of further improving before we have to kind of pull back on things and alleviate or eliminate that fatigue and that kind of inflammation that builds up from the dieting process. So yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. But yeah, today for me in the gym, it's arms. So with the same run of exercises as last week, with the exception of maybe one, I might, I don't know, squeeze in some close grip bench press somewhere, just so I can get a little bit more indirect, or I guess you could say, what is it, like crossover volume for chest, because I'm only hitting everything once a week. So I might do that, but other than that, it'll be pretty much the same session as last week when I did arms. So, wow. In terms of the bro split, I'm quite enjoying it. Although I think I might make a couple of changes soon, because at the moment I'm just kind of experimenting. I'm not following a structured training program because there's no real incentive for me to have to do that, as I can't really focus on building muscle at the moment. It's just essentially training for the psychological benefits at this point in time. Although down the track I'll be able to start upping the ante a little bit again, and when I am able to do that, my training might change a little bit more again. But currently what I'm trying to do is just find that happy equilibrium of a training split that I enjoy, but also that is somewhat conducive to the constraints that I have at the moment with my lifting. Like, I can only say lift a certain number of times a week, or at least I'm only comfortable with lifting a certain number of times a week until my health is in a better place. And then on top of that too, I don't want it to be completely useless training. I still want it to be somewhat beneficial and at least staving off muscle loss or preventing muscle atrophy. And I mean, you don't really need a lot to do that. The maintenance volume for maintaining muscle tissue is significantly lower than that of, say, the minimum effective volume, and definitely much lower than the maximum recoverable volume for a muscle if we're trying to drive maximum growth. So I don't really need to worry about it in that regard. And same thing with frequency. I don't need to worry about training frequency too much, because at the end of the day, frequency plays such a small, insignificant role in how effective training is for muscle retention or muscle growth. It comes down more to the total amount of stimulus at the end of the week and whether you're recovering from that effectively. So yeah. But what I'll do is I'll finish these, have my drink, and yeah, get started into training, and I'll see you guys there. Doing the straight bar today instead of the rope attachment, so I'll be able to move a little bit more weight. Last week I think it was 100 pound with the rope, but because I'm doing the straight bar today, I'll just start at 120 pound and see how that feels and just gauge it from that. But heart failure and all, obviously not pushing it super hard, just getting some blood in the muscle. So Normally I use this the other way around, but I actually want to see if it's more triceps dominant doing it the opposite way around. So see how this feels. Doesn't feel too bad. This variation of the dip might actually just be my new favorite tricep compound exercise. Definitely a lot better for the triceps than facing the way that the machine was designed to face, which is the other way around. That's a conventional way to use the machine because you've got the thigh support pads there. But just rotating around doing a full 180 really allows you to stay more upright and align the mechanics of the machine more with the triceps, I think. So yeah, feels good. We're going to do 1 to 2 more sets of this, I think. Total of 2 to 3 sets, just see how it feels. Quickly recording it so I don't forget. You know what, I'll probably only do 2 sets of this just because I've got 2 tricep exercises left, but we'll see. A total of, I want to say, like no more than 10 sets for triceps, but if it feels good, it feels good. So I might keep going. Let's get this sorted. That'll be enough. Don't want to go to failure. I could probably pump out another, like, I want to say 3 or 4 reps if I really kind of pushed all out, but that wouldn't be good for me. Time for my, oh, not my favorite, one of my favorite tricep exercises, the crossbody extension. If you guys haven't done this before, I highly recommend it. Yeah, that set wasn't too bad. Might drop it back one though, because I was only really getting 10. I want to aim for about 10 to 15 reps, not just get 10 reps. So it's at 13.75 for set 1 and then 11.25 for the remaining sets. Now normally, obviously do this second last, so a little bit more fatigued. I'm going to drop the weight back a little bit. I would go 3 plates or 3 10-kilo plates per side, so like 60 kilos in plates normally, but I think it's going to be a little bit harder doing it at the very end of my tricep work, so I'm just doing 25 kilo each side instead of 30 and play it by ear, see how that feels. So what I mean is, don't have your shoulders in that much flexion and just keep it in that, like allow a bit of shoulder extension and shoulder flexion through the movement. Now when it comes to triceps training, guys, if you ever get kind of unwanted elbow pain, chances are just allowing a little bit more movement at the shoulder joint while you perform your tricep movements will solve the issue for you. So if you are one of those people, I know I used to experience a bit of elbow pain when I did things like skull crushers or even these kind of movements, overhead tricep extension movements, French presses. And a lot of it came back to the fact that I wouldn't let my upper arm move at the shoulder joint while I was doing my tricep exercise. When I was doing skull crushes, I'd just stay fixed in the same degree of shoulder flexion, or when I was doing overhead extensions. But if you just allow a little bit of freedom of movement at the shoulder joint while you're performing your tricep exercises, whether it's a skull crusher or overhead tricep extensions, you'll probably find that you alleviate a lot of that torque created at the joint, and you still effectively lengthen and stretch the triceps under load and get some mechanical tension to drive growth, but you're not destroying your joints in the process, or aggravating your joints, I should say. So instead of being like stuck here, just allow a little bit of shoulder flexion and extension throughout the movement. Definitely didn't do 36 last week, I can tell you that. You got 27. first bicep movement. Already did one set, as you can see. Now, when it comes to single arm movements or single leg movements, any kind of unilateral exercise, I've recently changed my perspective on the matter. In the past, historically, I always thought you should just train your weaker side first and then match what you achieved on that weaker side with your stronger side. So that way you're never out training the weaker limb. And that way you could evenly develop both sides. But I've since changed my stance on that matter, changed my philosophy, so to speak. And I think ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter which arm or which leg you train first. Because at the end of the day, even though there is a correlation between strength and size, correlation does not always equal causation. And there's always going to be a bit of a discrepancy depending on the slight differences in muscle insertions from one side of your body to the other. The human body is not perfectly symmetrical, so one can assume that the strength of the levers of one side of your body versus the other side are never going to be perfectly identical. So strength, there's always going to be a bit of a disparity in strength from one side of the body to the other. So if you use strength as the sole or the primary determiner of how hard you train each side of your body, it's not necessarily going to fix muscular imbalances. I think the best way to train your body when it comes to unilateral training now is to just have a target rep and reserve or a target RPE that you're aiming for, and just aim for that on either side. Whichever side you train first, it doesn't really matter. Train both sides to the same level of perceived exertion or to the same proximity from failure, and leave it at that. That's the best way, I think, to train arms or legs unilaterally now. I don't believe in the whole train your weaker side first and match the reps on the stronger side to what you got on the weaker side. I think that's boycotting the development of one side of your body and ultimately probably just going to stunt your progress long term more than anything. I will say one thing, the LCM pump is real today. I don't know why, but I had a much better pump today. And I'm attributing it to the LCMs because, well, I don't know what else to attribute it to. So one more set of these. And then probably one more exercise. Yeah. At least one more bicep exercise. I might do a brachialis exercise too, like hammer curl or something. We'll see. That'll do. Bit of a new exercise in the rotation. I did do this back in Thailand, in Bangkok, if you remember, if you watched any of those older videos. It was a different brand of equipment, but the same kind of machine, like a seated machine curl. But see how this one feels, because Techno Gym are really hit and miss, and my friend Elijah over in Europe knows that much. Techno Gym makes some trash, but they also make some good pieces from time to time. Mostly trash, but sometimes good pieces. So we'll see how this feels. Wow, this actually feels really good. Elijah, if you've got this machine over in Europe, give it a try. I know you hate Techno Gym as much as I do, but this one's actually pretty decent. See, it feels with a little bit more load. Real top heavy, like real heavy at the peak contraction. That was probably a little bit too close to failure. I'll turn it back a bit on the next 2 sets. Time to finish off with a little bit of brachialis, some rope hammer curls.